All right, so I'm screwing around with coolant right now, so I'm changing to the VP Race Ready coolant, which is gonna be not screw. It's right here. Why not? Whoop. This thing. So this is a water-based coolant right now that is gonna be going in the car because I want to test out a theory on radiator limits, basically. But that's not. That's the reason why I'm underneath the car right now. Let's talk a little bit about the diffuser system that I have set up. Since I'm under the car, you can actually see it. So this is what it looks like underneath the car. And obviously with the under tray taken off, that's kind of what we got going. I still have my washer fluid. It's still in there. Maybe I'll take it out, put a smaller one in there for mass. I don't know. But I figured I might as well just do a tour around and show you what we ended up doing. So that's what the diffuser looks like. This is an Ad6 Auto diffuser that's been kind of cut up to actually fit in here. So normally the diffuser has this flange that sticks out. It'll be squared off around to over here, and they'll have a flange above it. So obviously we just cut that off, zipped it off, and then mounted it on here. And obviously underneath it, I think it's got that going for it. So how did we end up doing this? So I took the under tray off, and then what I did was I tried to figure out where I wanted to put this, and basically ended up as I wanted to reuse that hole. That hole is stock. That hole is there. Not on the Ad6 Auto thing, but it's on the diffuser, on the under tray stock. I wanted to reuse that because pretty much the under tray sits like, not the under tray, the subframe sits like right here along that line where my index finger is kind of tracing right now. So you really can't put this inboard anymore because you run into the subframe. I think if we look at it underneath there, I think that's accurate. Yeah, the subframe basically just kind of walks around this area. So this seems ideal in this lane, but obviously I can't put the full diffuser because it would run in, like this would start clipping this edge. I kind of didn't want that. I want the diffuser like body to be untouched. So relegated to, you know what, I'm going to put the diffuser here, and I'm going to try to slam it as inboard as I can without touching the subframe. So pretty much ended up being like, if I put it too far inboard, then like there's nothing supporting that. So I set it up so I reuse that hole. So I punched the through hole in here. The pop hood does go through that. And this kind of was the location to kind of settle down now. So I'd like indexed it horizontally, so it reused that hole, same on the other end of it over there. And then index it horizontally, so it reused that hole, and just slid it in and out until it was like kind of reasonable where I wanted it. You'll notice the rivets are going through the negative space, like where these channels kind of line up within the diffuser, so like it doesn't mess with the arrow that much. But I mean, like, it's not fully sealed underneath there. I mean, seal's kind of garbage. If you look at that, that's not great. That's not an aero component, mainly for brake cooling, obviously. So I did that, and punched the rivets in here, riveted and secured this, and then the rivets came later. Sorry, I'm going out of order. Index this horizontally. Index this thing horizontally, so no cuts were made yet. Index it vertically. Took a Sharpie, traced out where I wanted it to go. Took this off, cut the diffuser, put this on there, taped it, made a line about from underneath about where I wanted the cut to be. Took that, dremeled it, and zipped it off, and now I had this all set up. So I had the hole in the diffuser, and this was set up where I wanted it to go. Generally, if I slide it in and out, I mean, it is what it is. And then critically, I didn't rivet it off the car. I put this back on the car with the bumper off, and then I put this in place near the fender guard over there, and then held those in there, punched my first hole, zipped it, riveted it, and then punched the other holes and riveted there. So I like riveted it on the car. That's the critical thing here, because none of this is tolerance grade. It's a bumper, literally, so it's all plastic. So I set up the holes and cut them, made the cuts outside the car, but mounted this to the car, and then mounted this, put this where I wanted it to go, or where the holes were, and then riveted it on the car, and then punched the hole through the duct on the car. All of these structural things that are going through and really mating everything together, that's done on the car. It's match drilling to make sure it lines up. So I did that, and you notice if you're familiar with the car, that's not OEM. That's a new hole that I drilled on there. It looks maybe kind of quasi OEM, but like there is that. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But anyhow, so I got this riveted on. Everything worked. This was not there yet. Talk about that in a moment. But then once this is all in place on both sides, what I did was I stenciled out. Maybe you can still kind of see it. Yeah, you can. stenciled out on, you can see the little Sharpie over here about where I wanted it, the diffuser to go. Was a little conservative with it. Maybe I cut too deep on this side, it is what it is. But stenciled it out and then demounted that and got the Dremel and then cut this hole in here basically. So obviously cut out the hole in there to allow air to pass through this guide, and then did that. So lined that up. I don't know why I said lined it up, but like cut this hole out over there and everything looked kind of good. So after that, take this, mount it back on the car. So there's a lot of mount, unmount basically. So, and then kind of evaluated where does this kind of sit relative to there, set about generally where I wanted it. And I was trying to figure out what do I do to secure the rest of it basically. So when you delete this, this goes floppy. That's not good, which is why we have a hole here that goes through that. And that's why we have this hole that goes through that basically. So I did that, and then I was kind of generally content at that point, mounted on the car and kind of felt out how do I feel about it. The reason why we got two holes here is because basically when I took this edge and kind of grabbed it and shook it around a little bit, I was hoping this would help. It didn't hold on enough. So I figured, you know what, like the top of it is not hung off of the fender well, so it was just being hung off this pop clip. So I'm thinking, you know what, screw it, make an L bracket, hang it off the fender well, and now it's rock solid. So I like that. Again, the car is at stock ride height, so we don't make downforce. If this made downforce, it would probably tear the fender liner off. So if we're gonna do this for downforce, if we're gonna lower the car, for example, and then actually try to get this closer to the ground, what you would want is you would want a full carbon under tray that will actually hold up to the stiffness. This is plastic. Don't rely on this for downforce. This is just for brake cooling. But yeah. Anywho, so how do I make the L bracket for this? Well, it turns out this little rubber piece that goes between here, you can just flip that upside down. Actually, you get the one from the other side. You flip the sides, basically. You swap them, and then you flip them upside down. That's a literal negative L bracket. So that's literally what this is. This is the wheel deflector from the other side, flipped upside down. It's riveted in here. This is terrible because this is on the bottom side of the diffuser. It's actually garbage for aero, stripping turbulence right there. It is what it is, but like, does this work? I mean, the proof's in the pudding on like the rotor temps. Like I'm seeing 170, and that's actually kind of where you want to be. Honestly, that's happy. Honestly, you're not going to cook your piston seals that way, so I was really happy about that. So overall, it works pretty good. Obviously, it's still quick disconnect because I mean, like I added this additional pop clip and these two additional pop clips over there, so still cue these off there, and it just generally works. So overall, really happy with this at the car. I'm underneath the car, so I figured let's just do a video talking about what the heck this looks like underneath there. So it's another look if you want kind of the shenanigans that are going on here. Yeah.